She said, "Real men don't argue. Just pay and shut up." I replied, "Thanks for the advice." Then I paid, for my own dinner only, and walked out. Her laughter died when the bill landed on the table and her friends slowly realized she'd been abandoned. I, 32 male, am a data analyst. My job is to find the pattern, see the trend, and draw the logical conclusion. For 2 years, I've been ignoring the glaring data set of my own relationship with my girlfriend, Isab, 28. The pattern was her ever-increasing expectation of a lifestyle funded by me. The trend was my slow transformation from partner to provider. The logical conclusion was that I was not a boyfriend. I was an ATM. I ignored it because she was beautiful and our life on the surface looked perfect. But the cost of maintaining that perfect-looking life was getting higher. The final data point that forced a conclusion arrived last night. It was her birthday dinner at Aurelia, a restaurant where the air itself feels expensive. She had invited her 2 best friends, Sasha and Talia, who served as her perpetual hype women. The evening was a masterclass in performative extravagance. "Oh, we have to start with the Aurelia Grand Platter," Isabella announced, waving away the menu. "And a bottle of the Veuve, the good one." The platter was a mountain of shellfish that cost more than my weekly food budget. The champagne was nearly $300. I just nodded, the familiar knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach. The ordering continued in that vein. 3 Wagyu steaks with truffle butter add-ons, a parade of cocktails with names like Gilded Dream, and another bottle of wine. They took dozens of selfies, laughed loudly, and largely ignored me, except to occasionally check that the wallet was still present. The conversation eventually turned to a recent disagreement we'd had. She wanted a lavish weekend getaway. I had suggested a slightly more reasonable but still beautiful alternative. Isabella recounted this to her friends with a dramatic eye roll. "Can you believe it? He actually wanted to argue about the budget," Sasha gasped theatrically. "No. The whole point of a man is that he handles things. You shouldn't have to worry about that." "That's what I told him," Isabella said. She then turned to me, a condescending smirk playing on her lips, and delivered the line that would detonate our relationship. "You have to learn, Liam. Real men don't argue about money. They just pay and shut up." Sasha and Talia howled with laughter. Isabella beamed, looking at me, expecting a sheepish nod of acceptance, but she didn't see one. The numbers in my head were finally adding up. The knot in my stomach wasn't anxiety anymore. It was cold, hard certainty. I looked at her smug, beautiful face and felt absolutely nothing. The waiter arrived a few minutes later with the bill, placing it discreetly on the table. Isabella nodded at it, then at me. The silent command was clear. "Do your job." I opened the folder. The total with tax was just over $1,200. I saw them watching me, waiting for the familiar ritual. I looked up at Isabella and gave her a small, calm smile. "Thanks for the advice," I said. Her smirk widened. She thought I had learned my lesson. I flagged down the waiter. "Excuse me," I said, my voice low and steady. "I'd like to pay for my portion now separately." The waiter, a professional, didn't miss a beat, but Isabella's smirk vanished. "Liam, what are you doing?" she hissed. I ignored her. I had the ribeye steak, which was $85, and 1 beer, which was $12. That's a subtotal of $97. I pulled out my phone's calculator. With our 9% tax, my total is $105.73. I'll add a $25 tip for a final charge of $130.73. Please run my card for that amount. I was speaking calmly, as if reconciling an expense report. The waiter just nodded. "Of course, sir." Isabella's face was a storm of confusion and fury. "Liam, what the hell do you think you're doing? Stop this right now." Her friends stared, mouths agape. The party was over. I handed my card to the waiter. Then I stood up, pushed in my chair, and put my phone in my pocket. I didn't look at them. The waiter returned a moment later with my receipt. I signed it, turned, and walked away. As I headed for the door, I could hear Isabella's furious whisper, "Where is he going? Get him back here." I stepped out into the cool night air, feeling a profound sense of lightness. My phone began to buzz before I even reached the corner. "Isabella, where are you going? Get back here right now and pay this bill." "Liam, I am not joking. This isn't funny." I hailed a cab. As I got in, I pictured the scene. The waiter returning to their table with the bill folder. The remaining balance, $1,069.27. I imagined Isabella's laughter dying, the dawning horror on her friends' faces as they realized their free ride was over. I imagined the frantic, humiliating scramble to cover a bill they never intended to pay. She said real men pay and shut up. She was half right. I didn't argue, and I paid. For my dinner, for my freedom. I knew a war was coming. She lived in my apartment. Her sense of entitlement was galactic. Let her come. The show was cancelled. Update 1. The cab ride home was blissfully quiet, a stark contrast to my phone, which was in the middle of a full-blown notification seizure. Texts and missed calls from Isabella, Sasha, and Talia flashed across the screen. I ignored them all. I let myself into my apartment, my name solely on the lease, a detail that was about to become critical, and finally surveyed the digital carnage. It was a predictable tirade. Isabella, you embarrassed me. You humiliated me in front of my friends. Isabella, they had to put the bill on Talia's dad's emergency credit card. Do you know how awful that was? You owe me $1,069.20. I'm sending you my Venmo. Pay it now. I'm coming home and you better have that money. I muted the threads and waited. An hour later, the door flew open, slamming against the stopper. Isabella stood in the entryway, radiating a fury so intense it seemed to suck the air out of the room. What was that? She seethed, throwing her purse to the floor. I remained on the couch. That was me taking your advice, I said calmly. My advice? What are you talking about? You abandoned me. Me. You said real men don't argue. They pay and shut up. I didn't argue. I paid for my meal. Then I shut up and left. I followed your instructions perfectly. The cold logic of it seemed to break her brain for a second. That's not what I meant, and you know it. You were supposed to pay for everyone. That's your job. That's the deal. Me, my job? The deal? I didn't realize our relationship was a business transaction. Thanks for clarifying. In that case, consider my contract terminated. She threw her hands up. I cannot believe this. You're gonna throw away 2 years over one stupid dinner? It was never about the dinner. It was about the line. Pay and shut up. That one sentence told me exactly what you think of me. You don't see a partner, you see a wallet. And I'm resigning from that position. Her anger suddenly gave way to panicked entitlement. Her eyes darted around the apartment, cataloging the life she was about to lose. This is ridiculous, she said, her voice shaking. You're just emotional. You'll regret this. Now, are you going to send me the money for the dinner or not? Me, no. That bill is between you, your friends, and Talia's dad's credit card. Fine, she shrieked. Be a cheap, pathetic child. I'm going to bed. We'll talk about this in the morning when you've come to your senses. She started for the bedroom. No, I said, my voice stopping her cold. You're not. You can pack a bag with what you need for a few days. Then you need to leave. She spun around, her face a mask of disbelief. Leave? I live here. Me. No, you don't. I live here. My name is on the lease. Our relationship is over, so your stay here is over. You can come back on the weekend to get the rest of your things. We can schedule a time. This was the blow she hadn't anticipated. Losing the dinner was an embarrassment. Losing me was an inconvenience. Losing the apartment, the home base for her entire lifestyle, was a catastrophe. You can't do that, she cried, tears of genuine panic in her eyes. Where am I supposed to go? Me. I don't know, Isabella. You could stay with Sasha. Or Talia. I'm sure they'd love to host the person who just cost their family over $1,000. That's your problem now. The statement was cruel, but it was just a logical consequence of her actions. She stared at me, the reality of her situation finally crashing down. The rage was a shield for a terrified person who had built her life on someone else's foundation, and that foundation had just crumbled. You'll regret this, Liam, she whispered, her voice full of venom. I'm already regretting the last 2 years, I said. Tonight is the first step in fixing that. Pack a bag. I'll call you a car. With a choked sob, she stormed into the bedroom. I heard drawers being yanked open. I knew this wasn't just about clothes. This was about retribution. Her first target, I was certain, would be the expensive camera kit I'd bought her for her birthday. The one she was going to use for her influencer career. The one I had all the receipts for. Update 2. The week after the dinner party coup was a series of calculated maneuvers. Isabella left that night in a storm, and I learned from the subsequent $1,069.27 Venmo charge. Note, dinner you owe me, coward. that she had gone to stay with Talia. I declined the charge with a simple note, no. We agreed via text, my chosen medium for the paper trail, that she could retrieve her things on Saturday afternoon. I made it clear I would be there to supervise. She arrived with Sasha and Talia in tow, her personal moving crew and emotional support vultures. I stood by the door as they entered with empty boxes. Isabella refused to meet my eyes. Just get my stuff, she said to her friends. Everything that's mine. Of course, her definition of hers proved to be incredibly elastic. They started with her clothes and shoes, which was fine. But then they moved on to household items. Ooh, don't forget the good towels, Sasha said from the bathroom. Me, the towels stay. I bought them. Sasha peeked her head out, but Isabella uses them. They're basically hers. Me, usage doesn't imply ownership. The towels stay. The skirmishes continued. A lamp she'd picked out, I paid. An espresso machine, my purchase, her daily use. With every attempt, I was calm and firm. No, I have the receipt. Leave it. Their frustration mounted. They were trying to punish me by stripping the apartment bare. Then came the main event. Talia emerged from the office holding the box for the Sony Alpha camera kit, the nearly $3,000 setup I had bought for her birthday, the key to her influencer ambitions. Okay, we're taking the camera now, Talia announced. No, you're not, I said, blocking her path. Isabella finally spun to face me. What do you mean, no? You bought that for my birthday. It's a gift. It's mine. Me. It was a gift given within the context of a long-term relationship that is now over. It was an investment in a shared future that no longer exists. The camera stays with the investor. Her jaw dropped. You can't take back a gift. That's illegal. I'll call the police. Go ahead. I have the credit card statement with the serial number on the receipt. It's my property. It's not leaving this apartment. The standoff was tense. Faced with documented logic instead of emotional drama, they had no move. Isabella, her eyes burning with a chilling hatred, finally relented. You are the most vindictive, petty man I have ever met. And you're the most entitled, transactional person I've ever met, I replied. Get the rest of your clothes and get out. They finished packing in resentful silence and left. I felt a profound sense of victory. It was only later that evening that I realized my victory wasn't total. I went into my office and reached for my external hard drive, the small drive where I kept years of my personal travel photography, my one true creative passion. It was gone. I searched everywhere, a pit forming in my stomach. She had taken it. While I was arguing about towels, one of them must have pocketed it. It had no monetary value to her, but to me it was priceless. It was a purely malicious act, designed for maximum emotional damage. An hour later, a text from a burner number confirmed it. Unknown. Looking for something? It was her. Me. Give it back, Isabella. Unknown. Give me my camera first. The one you stole from me. We can do a trade. It was a hostage negotiation. My memories and my art in exchange for a $3,000 piece of equipment. Part of me wanted to just give it to her, to be done with the toxicity. But then I thought of her sneer, of the phrase, pay and shut up. If I gave in now, I would be validating her belief that she could bully her way to getting whatever she wanted. No, this wasn't an emotional problem anymore. It was a tactical one. She had stolen an item of low monetary but high personal value. I was in possession of an item of high monetary value that she believed was hers, and I had the receipts. The next move had to be precise, legal, and absolute. Final update. It has been 3 months. The war is over, and my apartment is finally peaceful. I won, not by stooping to her level, but by using the cold, hard logic she so despised. After she revealed her hostage gambit with my hard drive, I spent a weekend in turmoil. The thought of losing years of my photography was sickening. But the rational part of me knew that giving in to blackmail would be a catastrophic mistake. It would only empower her. So I formulated a plan. I gathered my documentation, the credit card statement for the camera, the original receipt with the serial number, and screenshots of her texts admitting she had my drive and demanding a trade. It was an airtight case. Then I drafted an email, not a text. It was formal, official, and sent to her primary email address. The subject line was, regarding your possessions and mine. The email itself was calm and concise. Isabella, you are currently in possession of my Seagate 2TB external hard drive, which you have admitted to taking from my apartment. This item contains my personal creative portfolio. I am in possession of the Sony Alpha A7 III camera kit, serial number XXXXXXXXX. I have the original receipts and credit card statements confirming my sole ownership of this item, valued at $2,850. Your text message proposing a trade constitutes an admission of theft and an attempt at extortion. You have two options. 1. You will return my hard drive to me, undamaged, within 48 hours. We will meet in a public neutral location for the exchange. I suggest the lobby of a police station. 2. If I do not have my hard drive back within 48 hours, I will file a police report for felony theft of the camera. The value is well over the grand larceny threshold. I will also provide them with your admission and extortion attempt. A criminal record would be devastating for your aspiring influencer brand. The choice is yours. Let me know your decision. Liam, I hit send. The next 36 hours were agonizing. I was terrified she would destroy the drive out of spite. Then, a one-word email arrived. Fine. We met in the busy lobby of a bank branch near my office. She showed up with Talia, looking haggard and defeated. She refused to look at me as she placed the hard drive on the counter. I plugged it into my laptop. My file directory popped up. Everything was there. I did a quick check of a few files to ensure they weren't corrupted. They were fine. I looked up at her. Thank you. Are we done? She spat, her eyes full of hate. Yes, I said, packing the drive safely away. We are. She turned and left without another word. The fallout for her was quiet but total. Talia's father was apparently furious about the $1,000 dinner bill, and the debt shattered their friendship. Without her hype crew and without my funding, Isabella's influencer dreams evaporated. She couldn't afford the lifestyle she felt she was owed. Her social media, once a constant stream of curated luxury, went silent. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she had to move out of the city, unable to afford rent and having burned all her bridges. She's reportedly living with a relative a few states away, working a retail job, the ultimate nightmare for someone who believed she was above it all. My revenge was never about destroying her. It was about refusing to be collateral damage. It was about standing up for myself. I didn't argue. I paid my share and walked away from the table. When she tried to drag me into the mud, I refused to play her game. I made it a game of facts and consequences, a game she was guaranteed to lose. I look at the photos on my hard drive now, and they feel different. They're a testament to the life I had before her and a roadmap for the life I'm building now. A life where I don't just pay and shut up. I have a voice, and I'm finally using it.